but here's the thing. People are always asking me stupid questions, but they've never really noticed I'm quite a serious person.
Yes, I could tell.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll noted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very nice to meet you.
Very
Um,
nice to meet you. Yeah, yeah.
you've been on my radar, with the Rezillos for ever since I started, down at the Roxy, and I know you played there, didn't you?
Yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
I came to see you there, in fact, and I thought it was great that one that you were from Scotland, and also because you were different. You did something different to.
Yes. I think actually a lot of the early punk bands that made a bit of a splash were all very individual and different actually.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, I
Were
think they
you
all had
going?
individuality.
Was your band already going before punk? Because that bit I don't know about.
Well, that's a difficult question, actually. In a sense, we were going before punk, or before we knew about it. We had started up and we were doing our thing, and then we heard that there was this thing called punk, and then we saw we'd heard about it, and then we actually saw the Damned play an early gig, but we thought, well, there's something actually we fit into this strange movement in some obscure way, so we were already going, and then we sort of caught the zeitgeist in a way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And was it? Did you have to modify what you were doing at all, or did you just do the same set?
No, no, we didn't have to modify what we did at all. No, I think we were. I mean, actually, it would have been nicer if we had longer to develop, but that's where we were when the whole punk thing sort of exploded round about us, really.
Hmm. How long had you been going for?
Oh, well, I think our first show was 5th of November, um, yeah, 76. I think that's when it
76. Really, that
was.
was
Yeah.
November 76 was also Eater's first ever gig in.
Oh, was that right? Oh, God. Wow.
Our first gig was fucking terrible. I don't know. How did yours go?
Actually, I was just actually talking about this earlier on today. I knew when we played, both from the response from the audience, but just the way that we were on stage, that we had something and it was going to go someplace. That's what I thought. I wasn't. I mean, I wouldn't have articulated it like that, but I thought we were kind of ready made, and we were a thing, really. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah.
We had to, because my band had to do a bit of adapting. That first gig was so terrible, and we were playing with the Buzzcocks, who were really
All
great.
right.
And but my songs at the time were slow, and I hadn't quite figured out this punk rock thing, and so we had to kind of just sped everything up. So the only change
Oh,
we made.
really? Right, right, right. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, we were doing mostly covers actually, but they were all really fast and punky.
Right.
So, yeah.
I bought Top of the Pops and the album that
Hmm.
I came from, and I was, as I said, I got a bit bored of punk quite quickly. There's the sameness of all the newer bands,
Hmm.
and, and Rezillos had something, a bit different. I almost thought you were a little bit like Sparks in a way. I don't know why I made that
Yeah,
connection.
I think you're onto something there as well. Although I was, obviously great respect, but I was never a Sparks fan. But I can see what you mean. Just sort of
Quite.
arty, sort of abrupt in a way. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do, how did you join? Whose band was it? If it was someone's band, what happened there?
Well, it started off with an idea that Eugene Reynolds had, and but it wasn't a band. But two or three of the Rezillos to be had started rehearsing and making some sort of noise. And Eugene Reynolds, I was the band didn't exist. It was just like a few people getting together. And Eugene Reynolds, I just met him at our college, and he said, "What's your favourite band?" So I said, oh, reeled off this, that, and the other, Bowie and Roxy Music and da 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 da. And yeah, and he said that his favourite band were the Rezillos, and I said they're absolutely, that band, they're absolutely shite. And of course, they didn't even exist. So they were like an idea, first of all, and so I just went. I knew where they were rehearsing, so I went down and I sang "Sweet Jane," and leader of the pack. And so we sort of formed then, you know, we
Right.
sort of formed there at that point.
How did leader of the pack go?
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Complete up.
Massive Shangri-Las fan, so it was like a
Right.
natural step. Mhm.
And so when you noticed the punk thing happening in London, how did you make the inroads to sort of join in?
Um, we were kind of making we were making waves here. I mean, the audience really connected with us, and I think a few local music business people got involved, like Lenny Love and Bruce Finlay, and they sort of, you know, they noticed us, and we came to the attention. So we, like, an independent record came out on Sensible Records. That was Lenny Love's wee thing, and so we drew attention up here. We didn't really link in with the London scene at all. And then we got signed in by an American label and made the album in America. So we not through any intention, but we just sort of bypassed London, really.
Was that Sire Records you were
Yeah,
signed?
yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
How did that come about? I mean, that's a neat deal to land.
Uh, well, you know, at that time when there was a healthy record business,
Mm.
you know, when things started up and there was like a bit of a buzz about it, you know, people actually would sort of like, I can't believe it now, but they would sort of queue up to sign you, and there might be a bit of a competition basically between several companies, and we did have several companies interested in us, and we went to Sire because we thought they had a more interesting roster already, and maybe they would be a good fit for us.
And I presumed you had quite a switched on manager then there on stage.
Switched on. Well, he was switched on. Yeah, I suppose you could say
No one
that.
ever
Yeah.
says anything good about their old manager.
Hmm. Well, yeah, but I think perhaps for a good reason.
I think probably, yeah. I was,
Yeah. Anyway, he knew some things. Yeah. Mm.
we got totally fleeced by our first management, and
Really?
and we didn't make the most of that fact that record companies were queuing up to sign punk bands. We got signed
Right.
really
Right.
early, stitched
Yeah.
up very early, and it would
Oh.
have been a dream to have signed to Sire Records.
Mm. Mm. Well, it was a good start.
How did you find that switch from being a gigging band to having a hit and Top of the Pops and all of that kind of thing?
How did I find it? It was all, you know, it was fairly natural. I don't think it was a bit of a shock. It was fairly natural. I'd always been, doing music when I was a child. You know, I came from a musical family. I know it sounds weird, but it just didn't seem that strange. It seemed quite natural.
You enjoyed it.
I enjoyed some of it, but I really didn't enjoy some other bits of it. Yeah.
Like what bit didn't you enjoy? Would you say?
Um, it's too a deep question to go into on this podcast. I
It's not.
can't do it.
This is a fairly deep podcast. You can. I know
Okay.
it's like, but these are just
And I
these are.
am playing the Fringe with my other band, you know. So bear that
Yeah.
in
Oh,
mind.
we'll get around to that.
Right. Okay.
It's slightly different. This podcast. It's not. I'm not really interviewing people as such. If there's something to plug, like a show or something, then that's great. But that it's, you know, we do tend to go a little bit deeper. But if you don't want to talk about
Well,
the
okay, I'll just say one or two wee things. Okay, I think that, you know, there was disagreement, politics amongst the band. I think there was forces actually causing divisive things in the band, which was not good. And as the youngest member, I think I was just coming into my own, really, and wanted to do a lot more writing and things like that. And I feel I was being pushed into just being the singer, and I didn't like that. And there was all sorts of dynamics on the go. I mean, I think the manager was playing power games, and yeah, it just was not meeting my creative needs anymore. Also, there were a lot of, yeah, there were a lot of divisive things going on, and I guess, you know, the music business as a whole, although the music was very natural to me, the music business as a whole, you know, obviously pushes you up and slams you down and pushes you up and slams you down and all that sort of thing. That was okay. I mean, it's not great, but it's okay. But in the context of wanting to do something more my own to do with my own creativity, that was just really difficult. And then I think emotionally, do you know, our human voice is quite an emotional thing, and I think in the middle of a lot of pressure, not really feeling happy with either the relationships or the direction or my role. Um, I mean, in the middle of all that, we were booked to do quite a big tour at that time for us, and I completely lost my voice, and I think it was an emotional thing, and you know, so that was caused by stress, but then then that caused a whole bunch of new
Mm.
stress because you can hardly
Imagine.
perform when you haven't lost your when you've lost
How
your voice.
long?
I lost it for a year actually.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think it was probably a lot of it was psychosomatic in that I think my body was saying just don't do this for a while because it's not good for you, you know, that sort of thing.
Right.
But so that's some of the negatives as well as some of the positive. The music was seemed quite natural, but all the other stuff is difficult. But I mean, you'll know that because you've been in a band yourself.
Yeah, yeah. How did you feel when you couldn't sing? That must have really. How old were you by then?
Well, how old was I? 21, 22, something like 22, something like that. I can't remember. How did I feel when I couldn't sing? Well, it was a catastrophe in terms of doing shows.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually did a few shows where I couldn't sing. I was like grunting. So that wasn't so we wouldn't have been able to do the tour anyway, even if we hadn't broken up because I'd lost my voice. And uh, I didn't like it, but I never thought it was going to be forever. I sort of knew it was going to be temporary, actually. I
Right.
knew it was going to be temporary. And I instinctively knew it had happened because A, I was straining it a lot, but also I just felt that emotionally I wasn't, it wasn't true for me anymore what I was doing. I mean, it's not like you would have had to give it up. You could have sorted out the problems, but I don't think we were mature enough to do that, to be honest.
That's
So so it wasn't going to come right. I mean, it would have been great to think you could have because we had so much potential, and it's a shame that it all fell apart, really. But yeah, I think yeah, losing my voice, I didn't feel it was ever. I felt quite relaxed about it coming back, uh, and sure enough, it just with a wee bit of rest and a bit of emotional rest, psychological rest, it just came back.
mm,
Mhm.
great. And then after the Rezillos, you t- tell me just a bit about what happened after the Rezillos and what you did.
Well, Eugene and I started up the
The,
Revillos, which was quite a sort of more arty pop than the Rezillos had been,
mm,
but slightly less rock and roll, a bit more arty off kilter. We did that for quite a few years and toured America and did this, that, and the other. I felt that we had a hell of a lot of potential in the Revillos, but that never really reached potential either. You know, but we did some good things, but never really reached the potential that it could have got.
do you think the name change from just the Z to the V hindered it at all? Because
No, no, I
no,
thought that was a funny thing to do. But I think there's this, when the Rezillos coming out, we hit the zeitgeist of punk coming out. That's such a full engine behind it that if you were lucky enough to be doing something creative that time, it really has been at the right time in the right place. That then you got much more chance of getting that push behind you. But the Revillos really were more out on their own. I mean, looking back, we had more in common with some other things that I never thought we had common with post punk stuff, but that I never noticed us having being in common with at the time. But yeah, it's just there wasn't such a big, powerful zeitgeist at that. A lot of the mainstream had moved into new romanticism and this, that, and the other. So we weren't part of a big push thing. Yeah,
right. The original guitarist from the Rezillos did he was in the Human League or something, wasn't he? Didn't he?
Joe
If my,
Callis, you
if
mean?
my memory correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Do you ever speak to any of the old band? Over the years, have you kept in
Well,
Eugene?
let's see. Well, Eugene is still in the Rezillos, of
Yeah, of
course.
course, yes, yeah, of course, yes, yeah.
Um, Joe
You did
Callis
that.
when
You
it
did
when
that damn gigs with the damned
sorry.
in. You
Sorry?
played with the Dam, didn't you? I was going to come and see you that night in
Well, the Rezillos are
2022.
quite an active thing. I mean, we just did back during the Rabbit Hole Festival last weekend, actually, and we did another sort of thing at Bellahouston Park before that, and we were recording an album, and it's a new album is coming out in the new year. So the Rezillos are still on the go, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah, and we did do that damn thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just think who's around. Well, Eugene's still involved in the Rezillos. Joe Callis, when the Rezillos reformed, was
Mm,
part of it for some years, but then sort of drifted off again.
right.
William Mysterious, the bass player, sadly died. I think it was about 2012, if my memory serves me right, something like that.
Mhm.
He very sadly passed away, and yeah, Angel Patterson also played with the Rezillos for quite a long time when we reformed,
Mhm.
but we're playing with somebody else now. But I mean, these people have been involved, and some of them are still involved, like me, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, yeah. So, what are you up to these days? What's going on? What's the
Mhm.
Countess of Countess of Fife? Tell
Doing
me a bit
okay.
about
Right,
that.
I'll tell you. Well, I have another band as well as the Rezillos, and both of them are working and doing things in tandem, um, which is quite odd, but nevertheless, I'm making two different albums. I'm making one with the Countess of Fife, and I'm making one with the Rezillos. And for whatever bizarre reason, they both ended up getting done at the same time. The Rezillos actually were scheduled to make it a wee while ago, but what with one thing or another, it never got done. So they've ended up getting done at the same time. I'm producing both of the albums with a colleague of mine called Martin Metcalf, who's with
Mhm.
Goodbye, Mr. Mackenzie. So we're sort of co-producers on both of those albums.
Mm,
Um, which is also it's just quite sort of mind-boggling. There is the Rezillos, as I've said, are very active and they're doing shows, but because they're doing the album at the moment, we've kind of stopped doing shows for the moment. I'll get back to it next year. So we've had to stop at the moment because that's just can't happen.
mm,
Um, but the Countess of Fife, yeah, we're doing an album and we're doing shows. So like we've got 6 shows coming up at the Edinburgh Fringe. That's next week. So we're doing 3 that are really stripped down. So myself and the guitarist Brian McPhee, who has worked with Marianne Faithfull and the Big Dish and loads of
mhm.
people. So there's just me and him, and we just do it, me keyboards, him guitar, and it's a very stripped down, sort of quite eerie, earthy sound. So that's for the first 3 dates, and then the last 3 dates, it's the whole kit and caboodle. So that's a 5-piece band. So in
Right.
addition to myself and Brian, it's Al Gare on double bass that has worked a lot with Imelda, me, and Jeff Beck, and the drummer Willie Mollison, who's actually currently working with the Rezillos and is most noted for his work with Eliza Carthy. And who have I missed out? Missed out somebody. Oh yeah, yeah. And on acoustic and backing singing is Kirsten Adamson, daughter of her father.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's
who's a fantastic singer and
that's
artist in
really
her own
cool.
right.
I
Yeah.
spoke to I spoke to Richard Jobson on this not too long ago, and
Oh, that's really weird because I spoke to him just the last weekend because he was playing it back doing the rabbit hole as well.
oh, right. It's,
Yeah, but bizarrely, we're all from this. We're from the same hometown. Yeah.
and
Well,
on
that's even more specific than Scottish. Yeah, the Skids, someone Stuart Adamson and Richard Jobson, and myself. We all come from this little town, Dunfermline,
right. Okay.
in Fife. So there you go.
You're all from
Yeah.
the same place. All right.
Mhm.
What's the what's it like playing at the Edinburgh Festival?
Well, I've played the Countess of Fife. I've played it several years. I'd say, think have we done it 3 years? Yeah, 2 years we did at the Gilded Balloon, and 1 year somewhere else before. And it's actually peculiar because you don't get a proper sound check. It's all a bit of a rush and da di da da da. So, but before I've always just done one night. But this time, I decided to just really go for it. We were asked if we wanted to do several nights. I thought, oh, well, that's a bit risky, but 'cause you've got to get the audience. But I thought, well, I'll have a go. So that's what we're doing. So this year it's going to be it's going to be a different experience. And yeah, I've never, yeah. So I've sort of dipped my toe a bit more in the water than I normally would have done. Yeah,
Mm.
so we just don't know. You have to ask me after it actually. But yeah, I think since the pandemic, the fringe has shrunk a bit, you know. Before it was just unbelievable. It was over the top. And I have heard people saying, God, as the fringe started, it's not, you know, it's not packed so packed out. I think it's down about 40 or 50% since then.
Right.
So it's a smaller thing, but I just hope enough people come and see us. They've always come to see us enough for one date, but we've got to get more this time, even though the first three are just like really stripped down and things like that. So it's an adventure, you know what I mean? It
Mm.
really is an adventure. Hmm.
Sure. Have you played at Rebellion before?
Yes, the Rezillos have played many times at Rebellion,
Do you like it?
uh, and headlined. Was it last year? No, it was the year before we headlined. Yeah, and we've played many times. I can't even remember. Maybe four, five, six, something like that. But even the Countess of Fife, not last year, but the year before, we played at Rebellion. We played at the big venue, which is the Opera House,
Oh yeah. Okay.
in the evening. But we also played on the nearly acoustic stage
Mm.
during the day, and I think it was maybe yeah, it was maybe probably the same day actually, and did it as a stripped down thing. So because the Countess Five do that actually, we can be both. We sometimes play as a two-piece, sometimes a three-piece. If it's the whole band, it's five people. Yeah, so we did that as well. And do you know that? Do you know this? That I thought that was one of the most amazing experiences I've had with the Countess of Fife because, again, we were asked to play something, and it's like, is this? Am I biting up more than I can chew here? Because this is essentially a punk festival,
Mm.
and although the Countess of Fife has punk edges to it here and there, it's definitely um, it's more alternative country than anything else. It's very individual. It's of itself, but it just definitely not a punk thing. There's punk edges here and there. And I thought,
Right.
oh my god, we're probably going to go down like a lead balloon. But you know what? We went down really well, and which has made me realise that if I can get the Countess of Fife to the right audience, and if it can get the exposure it needs, I think it could have quite a far-reaching reach.
Right.
Yeah, it's a far-reaching reach, but I think it does appeal to some people who you wouldn't necessarily think it would appeal to. You
So
know,
the tagline says, from the Scotsman, says a Celtic uh, Spector, Ronnie Spector,
Yes,
with gritty lyrics and stories.
yeah. Well, I'm going to take
You
that
say a
compliment.
Celtic, don't you? Did I
Yeah,
pronounce the C?
Celtic Ronnie Spector.
Celtic
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Well, I'm going to take that because I think that's a great compliment, and I absolutely adore girl group music. That's been a huge influence on the Rezillos. It's a huge influence on the Countess of Fife too. It's like so in my bones, all that stuff. And if anybody's going to compare me to Ronnie, well,
Yeah, right.
brilliant. And the
Brilliant.
Celtic thing too is also important.
Yeah, I
Mm.
misread that at first, and I was going about to ask you about this because I thought this is interesting. I misread that as a Celtic Ronnie Corbett with gritty lyrics and stuff. I said, "What the fuck must this be like?"
That's
Hello, could have been quite good.
oh, yes, indeed, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so how much of it is stories and talking, and how much is music?
At the Fringe show, well, it's not scripted. I mean, and I'm not like Richard Jobson, who's such a great raconteur. I'm not
Mm.
like that, but I do spontaneously talk about where the songs have come from and about my own journey to get here, because I think people are really interested in the fact that, um, I am a sort of a punk. Well, I wouldn't describe myself as
Like
this, but I know
legends.
some people describe as a punk icon or punk legend or whatever. So, like, why is it? What is it that keeps me going and drives me to continue doing the Rezillos successfully? Because we are a successful touring act, and still doing that. But also the fact that I'm growing and doing different music, and so that's really gives me something to talk about. I mean, people are interested in that, and I do it. And some of the songs even reflect those experiences. Like one of the very early songs that the Countess of Fife did was "Don't Dress Me Up," and it's about feeling that people are always, people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're that woman that I met in 1978, and oh yeah, and we met in the bar, and yeah, you're great punk rock. Where's your plastic dress?" and things like that. I mean, I'm always getting things projected on me from that time. Or it's still,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know, I was.
it gets a bit annoying, I think.
It
That
is annoying. It is annoying.
have you applied for the Punk Legend bursary? Yeah.
No, I haven't actually.
All
I
right.
haven't
It's a
yet.
government
I
run
think. I
scheme.
think. I think they should do one though. Yeah,
They
I
fucking
think.
should, because there's no other value to being a punk legend as far as I can see.
No, 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 no.
But you do, I
But
mean, you must feel this. That I always hated it from being pigeonholed as punk rock right from the beginning of my career to always now. And it's like, that annoyed me because it sort of stuck you immediately in the part. I was 17 and it was all over kind of thing. And it
mm,
just,
mm.
to a lot of the fans, it seems to be you were there at the time and that's what counts. But to me, it's not the important thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it might be even be particularly more potent because I think your band, you were so young.
Mm.
But no, I think it is really annoying being pigeonholed and having all that stuff projected on you. But I mean, it's a double-edged sword, really, because at the same time, it's nice to have that credibility, and that allows you to still have a career, actually.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I mean, I've done music and then I've gone away and I've come back and I've gone away and come back, but music has gone through my whole life. So I do think it's funny. I suppose it's like you're kind of thinking about your identity. Where is it? Is it me, or you're playing with it? And sometimes you don't like it, and sometimes you do like it, and sometimes I just like basically, just put down the shutters down completely. Actually, I did that earlier on in this interview. There's something some things I just I just won't do
Yeah.
to do with things, but other things, okay, right, we'll go with that, and da da da. So yeah, I will be doing a bit of chat, but it's not like a scripted show. It's not a theatre show. This is a show about me doing music, and I'll talk about the songs. I'll talk
Does that
about
scare you
what they
being
mean.
unscripted? Does
No,
it? No?
no, because I'm not, because it's the vast majority of it is going to be really earthy, heartfelt music, and it's a short show. It's only is that the slot is an hour, so probably be playing for about 50 minutes, 55 maximum. I'll be doing lots of music, but I'll be taught. But I like to connect with the audience, and I'll sort of just say I'm going to say about a bit about what the songs are about, and how they relate to my bizarre experience as a sort of punk icon, so they say, and
Mm.
where I am. I'll tell them about that, and then just start talking about it. It'll just be spontaneous, but there's not a lot of space to do things in. And
Do they ask questions? Do you interact in that way? Do you?
well, do you know, it's occurred to me that they might do that at this. I mean, it's not like a question answer thing, but if anybody, I might just say, look, and if anybody wants to ask me something, ask me. I'm going to tell you. Um, I
Can be
might,
quite fun to do, and especially if you turn it around back on them as well, then it becomes quite funny because asking what they've been doing, and it's
yeah,
you
yeah, I
know,
might do that
it's
actually.
fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
yeah, I might do that because it's going to be slightly well for the first three shows that are very intimate and low key because it's just very stripped down. It might lend to that. I'm just saying, yeah, I'm going to open up the floor. You can ask me what you want as long as I can ask you back.
The only problem is they often ask all the same questions again, and that's why it's fun to turn it around because you just want to get off the subject of how you formed the band.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the weird thing as well, though, I suppose one of the funny things is the Countess of Fife has some fans. I mean, obviously, it's not nowhere near as the Rezillos. They have followers and all the rest of it, but some of them don't even know that I'm in the Rezillos. They don't know that
Right.
I'm Fay
Yeah.
Fife. That
You
is
don't know you're a
also
punk
plays.
legend. They're unaware of
No,
being in the
because
presence of a punk legend.
yeah, I mean it's nice, and that's but it's weird as well because like I mean back down the rabbit hole, I know this for a fact because there were some people just turning up that didn't know who we were, and they were asking the merch guy, Yeah, who is she? They're going, that's Fay Fife that also sings with the Rezillos. You're kidding me. So you get that as well. So, I mean, I think there's an art in trying to, in connecting these two, because to get the connection, because they are all part of me,
Hmm.
whatever that is.
Like, how is your relationship with? How do you view the audience? I mean, is that when you say the part of you? Is it
How
is
do
it a,
I,
is it a total kind of love fest, or is there something you don't like about that fact? Because I find
the,
some of that annoys me a bit. Got to
the
be fair.
audience? Well, it's quite different in the Rezillos from the Countess of Fife. I mean, in the Rezillos, it's very much, there's a sort of quite a, we're right going out, putting the energy out into the audience, but nevertheless there is a sort of quite a strong barrier between you. But in the Countess of Fife, the songs are a lot more personal and more intimate, and I I'm just much more down home in the Countess of Fife, although down home in a quite a bizarre way, because I think I'm probably quite an unusual person in some ways, because I've had unusual experiences.
Hmm.
But it's much more connected, and I also think whether it's the Countess of Fife or the Rezillos, I do feel really, I feel grateful to people for showing an interest in my music.
Sure.
If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to do this job.
You
Although,
have to, you have to, don't you? You have to feel
Mm.
grateful for that. But
But
I think
yeah, you do. But at the same time, there's always one or two that that just go to extremes, and yeah, or just like they won't back off. But they're in the vast minority,
hmm,
vast
sure.
minority. Hmm.
Sometimes it's nice to meet people like at a gig who doesn't know, again, they're not unaware they're in the presence of a punk legend, and they've liked the set, and we've chatted afterwards, and they're saying, oh, how long have you been playing? And then I start thinking, well, I'm a fucking punk legend. At first I enjoy them not knowing that.
You mean you're resenting it and then resenting them for not knowing it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I feel the same. I do feel the same. Yeah, yeah. You're playing with the both things. You're playing with the same things. Yeah.
If you had not got into music, I mean, and that's probably unthinkable, but what would have been the closest thing to an acceptable profession to have got into?
Well, quite bizarrely, I've done quite a lot of different things in my life. Now, I
Mm,
mean, so I've already done some of them. But saying that, music has been and still is and always will be the biggest part of my occupational life, and by far the most important thing. Sometimes I have run away from music, especially as you're going back to when I lost my voice, or other times where I think, God, you can't even arrest us because nobody's interested, or I'm getting really fed up with it all. So I'll come and go. Sometimes I'll have gone off it, and I've also gone off it for other reasons, because okay, I had a son, and I wanted to
mm.
spend more time with him, and I didn't, and I wanted a normal job for a wee bit, because I thought, yeah, that's going to suit me, the family life a wee bit, and maybe that will help create a wee bit of security, all sorts of things. I haven't always done the thing, but yeah, so I have actually done some of them. So I mean, this is, yeah, I'll see if this is let me ask you, this is a bit like asking the audience, if you'd think, what would be the other jobs that I could do? Can you think what they would be?
It's going to be something like neurosurgery or something like that, isn't it?
You're not too far away.
All right.
Anything else?
Medical profession.
God, that's so weird. You're not so far. Okay, I'm going to tell you. The first, I'm a doctor of clinical psychology.
Oh, fuck. That's very weird, isn't it?
It is
That's a
rather
damn
weird.
good guess.
Yes. So I worked for a psychologist for some years, and I'm really interested in neuropsychology. So you're not too far off, and yeah, I could have done neurology as well, except I can't count, so that wouldn't work. I'd get all the milligrams and all the measurements mixed up. That would be a disaster. But anyway, yeah, no, no. When I had my son, I decided I wanted to do something completely different, and I wanted to just give up music altogether. But mind you, it came back and got me, and it got me back pretty quickly, I have to say. But for a while, I went and studied psychology, and then I studied clinical psychology, and then I became a clinical psychologist for a few years.
Oh,
But
wow.
the weird thing is, once I started being a psychologist, I thought, I love this topic. I've always liked it. I've always loved it. I mean, I'm really enjoying it and all the rest of it. But I don't want to do this as my living, and I really wanted to do music. So it's like, yeah, I'm fascinated by this, but I still want to do music. So I didn't do it for that long, actually, just when my son was wee.
Right.
So that was that. I've also bizarrely, far less time and in a less committed way. I also have done a bit of acting, and what can I say? I loved the improvising in that. It was so funny and creative, but I didn't really enjoy acting all that much. I thought, well, I really love performing, but this has got nothing on music, and music is a lot for me, for my psychology.
Yeah, it's that instinct
Music,
thing, isn't it?
yeah, music is a lot more me and a lot more creative. And
Mm.
also, I'm dyslexic, and learning scripts was always a trial, and everything like that. All that sort of side of it didn't really come very easy to me. So
Right.
all in all, although I absolutely loved improvising, it was the funniest thing in the world and the most very creative. When it came to doing plays the night after night, I thought, oh no, this is not me. It didn't take me long to think, well, I'm glad I experimented there, but I really want to get back to music.
Right. But that's a very interesting area, the psychotherapy.
Yes,
I've
yes.
never been I've never been to a therapist of any sort, and
You should
psychotherapy.
try it.
I lived in the States for a while, and everybody there had a shrink, and I've always got a lot on my mind, and
Yeah,
sometimes, well, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea, but
yeah.
I've never actually done it. What would you say to me if I came into your clinic now, surgery now, and said, I've got an existential angst that seems to be
Mm.
always hovering on the edges of my
Well,
career.
I would say that's normal, and yeah, that's I would say that's just the way, that's the human condition. That maybe that's not what you want to hear, but I'd probably say that. And also, just to put you in mind, I'm most vast majority of the time I worked with quite challenging things that are in the NHS. So it was like at the cold face of the whole thing. It wasn't people that were just worried and well. It was people that had really fucking awful problems.
Right.
And so I didn't really, the sort of people that would turn up with existential angst, I didn't see that. I saw people that turned up that were taking a ton of heroin and had a million traumas and were hanging from the edge of disaster the whole time. So that's just a different kettle of fish. I mean, really, I was working. I know what you're talking about, but that's not my experience of what I did. But I mean, I do think this that having therapy is often and generally a really good idea if you can find a right person and a good person, and that's not always easy.
Do you think
Yeah.
that most people have, because there are a lot, you imagine everybody to be all confident and doing their things and they're doing their important jobs or being on stage or doing these things, and I think people always imagine everyone is much more confident and able, in themselves, than they actually are, or is
You mean in the music business?
just
That
generally,
way,
just
generally.
generally,
Well,
people.
well,
You look at
again,
other
I mean,
people and you think they seem stable, they seem to be happy, they seem to have this thing, and I think probably from their point of view, they are also feel like they're faking it in a certain way, as in that,
yeah,
what's that expression for where you think you're not as good as you probably are?
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think a lot of
Well,
people from that?
well, that's interesting because it's to do with identity, isn't it? I mean, we all have different facets of our identity, and in order to get on socially, you know, you're presenting a bit of yourself to the world that will be able to interact with other people okay. So I mean, I know that you're interviewing me as Fay Fife. I feel completely genuine, and I am completely. I mean, I'm not putting on an act. I'm lying on my sofa. I'm pretty relaxed and whatever, but I still know that you're interviewing me about a certain thing. So there's a certain facet of my character coming up. You know,
Yeah.
if so if I was sitting here with a friend, yeah, it would be a different part of me coming up. So the very fact that you're talking about having a social self that you're presenting to the world, that's all just complete. We all do that. It's completely
Do you think social
what
media is
we are.
making that even more
I think social
solidified?
media is hell on earth, and I think
Mm.
it's having a terrible effect on humankind. I mean, saying that, I use social media to some extent, but I only use it to advertise music. I mean, I advertise it to use the Countess of Fife, which is a very small independent thing, albeit we have a record label and having last night from Glasgow and things like that. But
Mm.
it's just a very small organisation, and so I need to use that
You need to
to
use that.
advertise.
And you have to use that. Same with me. I have to have some
Mm.
sort of presence on social media, but then you get exposed to all of the narcissism and the kind of just meaningless drivel that I've even found myself scrolling after a while. I know I'm doing that thing that you know.
Mm. Yeah. Well, do you know what? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I scroll to do with sort of things like baby tigers or parrots. I like
Yeah, yeah.
talking parrots um or orangutans. I like them. So I like to watch things like that. But I I have caught myself scrolling. It's an addictive thing, and but I on the whole, I'm not drawn that much into it because I just think it's
It can't be
it's a
good.
really it's a toxic thing. I mean, I know that some people get really caught in it. Oh, this person's talking about me and that person. Oh, did you hear that horrible person? Did you see that horrible thing? I mean, I think life is hard enough. And I it's not it's not a focus I would like it's not a focus I would not encourage in myself. There's enough problems in the world, as very, very clear. You just got to look outside yourself and see it.
The kids growing up, who they're not like us, who have been through times of no social media. It's just a normal
Yeah.
thing, like cornflakes was normal. And so, I'm a bit worried about that aspect of it. I think at least we can sort of see a bit over that.
Hmm.
But
Yes, but I think you need to put that in perspective as well. Yeah, I think it is worrying. Well, let me just say this. People used to say of our generation, perhaps, they sit and watch TV all the time, or we never did that, or the older generation always looks at the younger generations and think they're all going to the dogs because they have other habits that the older generation didn't have. So I think you've got to look at it, keep it in perspective from that uh, way. But I do think there is something happening in a broader sense. It's not even to do with generations, but it's maybe more exaggerated in younger generations, in that people are just becoming more and more separated from each other. And I think that is really bad.
yeah,
I think that's really bad. We're becoming more and more and more in our little individual pods, looking at little machines. And I'm looking at a machine right now, and instead of
I
instead
think
of
I think COVID made all of that worse as well because you
I
couldn't go
think
out.
you're right. I think you're right. Oh, don't. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It has. Yeah, it really has. I mean, it's affected things so greatly, and I think it has changed the whole psychology of people and the whole social patterns of what goes on, and in a very unhelpful way. Yeah.
And it's affected music quite in a big way.
It has. It has affected music. I mean, it's affected even like the fringe is about 50%, 40 or 50% quieter than it used to be, because people just don't want to go out so much. And I'm thinking, just get out, just go out. It's
Yeah,
boring sitting in. You're
I
not.
know.
You're not live. You're not. You're not wakening up your own mind with other influences from outside, whether it be music or other things. Just sitting in your own wee silo is not. It's not very helpful.
And having, like, I know a lot of bands have got thousands of followers, but 13 people at their gigs, and it's like that all
Yeah.
seems nonsensical to me
No, I
as well.
know. I know. I was actually just having a moan about this with a friend today, and sort of saying people saying, "Oh, there's not enough music on. There's not a live music," and I'm saying, "There's tons of live music on." I really you know, I could never go to all the things I'm interested in seeing, even in even in this one city in Edinburgh. I could never go. There's just not the time to do everything. But people are saying there's nothing on. I'm saying, well, how would you know? You never go out. I mean, it's like you never
Yeah.
go out. You know, no, it's not good. It's not good. But what can you know? But at the same time, you know, I know all this, and you know, I know all this, and I have to make music. It's in my bones. So that's what I'm doing just now. You know,
Mm,
I'm making music. I'm making 2 albums, and I'm playing. I'll be playing from next Tuesday, 12th to the Sunday, the 17th. I'll be playing, and I've got lots of stuff on, and I just have to keep on doing it. But I
mm.
would hate. It'd be nice if people could just, excuse me, honestly, just
Bless you.
get their heads round the fact
Mm.
that, yeah, if you want to see live music, you know, you have
Yeah.
to make it part of your life, or it will actually disappear. You know, we can't earn money from nothing. You know, we can't
No,
get
I know.
that's it.
It seems to me as though the industry is making, and I don't mean big record companies, just venues and promotion teams and digital kind of promotions. They seem to be making more money than any of the bands.
I think it's always been thus. You know, it's always been. You know, I
Yeah, but
think.
what I mean is that industry is built up, you know, as a more lucrative thing than,
Mm,
you know. Obviously,
mm.
it was always more lucrative to be on the business side than being a band. But I just mean there seems to be more of them popping up all over the place, and you know, there's a lot of like pay for reviews. New bands
God,
can write their own review if they pay however much to some online journal, and it's just, you know, there people have thought of ways to get money, how to exploit desperate
yeah,
musicians.
no, I know. That is terrible. That is terrible. Yeah, I mean, the music business is a complete and utter travesty. I mean, it's just like you don't, you know, it really is a strange beast these days. I mean, it all started with the digital revolution. I mean, the very idea that you give away for your money for nothing or
Yeah.
virtually nothing is just it's a crazy situation. It's wholesale theft, and you know. The thing is, musicians will always play because they have to play. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? That it's because it's in our bones to do
mm.
it, but it's so exploitative.
And there's
But
no,
still, I'm
you don't
still
get,
doing it. You know?
yeah, yeah, but you don't get A&R men. Like that was one of the main points of doing gigs, was to see if you can pull some A&R men down. Now there's no labels that are interested in wasting money on A&R men. You
No,
know,
no,
it's,
but it wasn't a waste of money in the olden days
no, it wasn't. No, it
records
wasn't. No,
made money. You know, records were a lucrative business in the old days.
yes, yeah, I know. And now, not so much.
Not so much now.
Anyway, it's been great talking to you, Faye. And one thing before I go, I just want to say you're the first
Yes.
female guest we've had on this podcast. Not through
Right.
lack of trying, but so congratulations, you won the prize. It's
Yeah. Well, you know, thanks for having me on in that respect. But just to pause for thought there, that is a very significant thing. And you know, just to say, I did this big punk thing at Bellahouston Park, about 6 weeks ago, and there was lots and lots and lots and lots of punk bands, and it was a big thing. And I was the only woman
well,
performer.
this is the thing. I mean, I know there's like people like Gay Advert and various other few women that were involved in the era of punk rock that I was in, and um, you know, but some people don't want to be on a podcast, and so it's hard finding any, you know, it's not through lack of trying, but there's I think nowadays there's a lot more women involved in music, but there is.
There's a lot more women than there used to be, but still don't kid yourself that it's an equal playing field, because it isn't. You know, but there is a lot more women. But I mean, there's not very many around from my era. Yeah, so keep on trying. There's not that many of us.
Hmm.
It's quite
Oh,
significantly. You know, it's not as if I'm sure it's not because women didn't want to do music. You know, at
no,
this level.
it's, yeah, that's a whole other debate, isn't it? Really, it's there's also, there also seems to be at my school. Right, I was think of things when I was at school, and like most of the kids wouldn't be interested in being in a band. They were into sports
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
so it was already a kind of niche genre, forming a band in the first place. And
Yeah.
usually it was your friends, who are usually male. And I suppose
Yeah.
it's got a little bit to do with that as well. But so do you want to tell us about any upcoming things, dates and stuff like that?
Okay, well, the Countess of Fife, as I say, I've got 6 dates at the Fringe, starting Tuesday the 12th, going on to Sunday the 17th, 10:30 at the Voodoo Rooms
This is
in
August.
Edinburgh. Yeah, and this is this August, and so that's next week. The Voodoo Rooms, it's a lovely venue. It's quite glamorous and all the rest of it. So after that, the Countess of Fife is on doing a little tour. I can't remember them all off heart, but I know we're playing at Dundee and Stirling and Glasgow and a wee place, Anstruther and Fife. So we've got quite a few dates on the go. And then, but during this period, I don't think the Rezillos are doing anything, but the main thing is I'm doing this year is completing 2 albums.
Yeah. When
And
are they ready?
next year, 2 albums are coming out, one by the Countess of Fife and the other by the Rezillos,
Right.
unless some disaster happens, that's what will be happening. And both bands will be touring. And so I've got like some months of just bits and pieces and mostly to do with recording. And then next year, which is a strange anniversary of punk, I do believe.
Is it?
Yeah, coming up. I think so, yeah. I think 2026 must be 50 years since punk started up. So yeah, so there'll be lots to do next year, I think. So
Yeah.
that's my plans. Okay.
You sound nice and busy. Well, I hope it goes well at the Fringe. And
I hope so too.
if it was a bit more local to Surrey, I would
Uh,
come along. But I'll
I would
hope.
love you to come along. I would like, yeah, it'd be really great. I mean, the Countess of Fife have hardly done any shows down south, and but I hope to change that, but haven't done it yet. But if I mean, if I get the opportunity to be in your neck of the woods, I do hope you come along.
Yeah, that sounds great. I sometimes do gigs where it's half talking and half sort of playing a couple
Right?
of songs, and I've tried to find an unusual sort of venue to do it in, like an oldish kind of place. If you ever fancy doing something like that with us in London, maybe
I do.
that
I
would
do.
be a good
Yeah.
thing to do. It would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
makes a change
Yeah.
from straight going to see a band sort of
Yeah.
thing.
I might learn how to do it during the Fringe. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
See how you get on.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you want to do that, I'd be well up for that.
All right, well,
Yeah.
let's do something. All right,
Okay.
Faye, have a great evening. Thanks a lot for
Nice
doing
to
this.
speak to you. Okay.
Thanks
Lots
to you.
of love. Okay. Right. Bye.